Hey guys, it's Daniel, licensed therapist. Have you heard of incels? It stands for involuntary celibate. Doesn't that sound horrible? It's a group of men who have been unable to attract women and thus have sworn them off and become antagonistic toward them. We didn't have incels when I was younger. In fact, if someone was involuntary celibate, they would hide it like crazy. But these people are so open about it, and it's such a fascinating phenomenon. But honestly, it's pretty sad. At first, they may seem like a simple thing, but there are so many things going on underneath here, and that's why your guy is here to explain it to you. And guess what? The channel Jubilee had an Ask Me Anything with an incel. It's like we were able to find Bigfoot so we can study it. Let's get into it.
Okay. Hey, I'm Brendio. I also go by Derek. I'm an incel, and I'm here to answer people's questions about the topic.
Right off the bat, I can see maybe why this guy is an incel, but honestly, he seems like a decent looking guy to me. He's obviously overweight, but he has some nice features. He has a nice smile. He seems kind. He seems warm and intelligent. He's well spoken. I like him, but let's see if we can learn why he's an incel with the answers to some of these questions.
I can start. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
So you're an incel.
Yes.
Why would you ever sign up to do this?
I suppose I would want to give more of a positive light on this community, which is a very negative light upon it.
Okay, and do you think that's a good thing?
Yes,
Why is that?
because a lot of the boys in this community aren't bad people.
But you acknowledge that a good handful of them are, right?
Not a good handful, I would say a small handful.
Man, this first guy comes off as very attacking, and the natural response to attack is defensiveness or to counterattack. But my man Derek here, he doesn't do either of those things. He's a little taken aback by this guy's aggressiveness, but he actually does a good job of being honest, and he answers the questions with vulnerability, which is not an easy thing to do. So I'm liking what's coming out of our incel's mouth right now, but let's continue.
Who hurt you, or what happened? What event sort of catalyzed this way of thinking and you getting into this kind of research?
Society?
Do you hate women?
No,
No.
no.
Do you have a female role model in your life?
A female role model?
Yeah, like a mom or an aunt or a friend?
I mean, I love my mom. I wouldn't necessarily consider her a role model, but I do love her quite a bit.
So this was very interesting to me. So far, I'm not getting a lot from his answers, but him saying that he loves his mom, but he doesn't consider her a role model tells us something. I don't know what happened, and we don't get much, obviously, but there's some kind of dubious relationship here. This is just a guess, but something happened where he was let down by her or he was hurt by her in some kind of way. It's just speculation, but it's something we can start to connect the dots of why this nice young man is an incel. So let's see if we can't find some more clues.
If a woman was elected as president of the United States, how would you react?
I don't know. It probably would depend on the woman. I probably wouldn't be supportive of it, honestly, but
Why do you say that, if you don't mind me asking?
I do think that men should be the leaders and women should be the caregivers and the loving, supporting, and the teachers in some cases.
Since women of color or just women in general have been oppressed by certain systems and other oppressed communities, especially the LGBTQ+, all those don't really fit with the spectrum that incels or you have been talking about. So why do you think your method of thought would help fix what we have today?
I probably wouldn't view the things that you might view as oppression. I have a feeling. I would view it more as how we treat children that we love. We control them, but we control them lovingly, not as a slave, not as we're forcing them to do things against their will. I would view it more as a loving domestic thing in the past. And I would say that if we were to do it in a civilized way, maybe in a more, even a Christian way, even though I'm not really advocating for a certain religion or ideology, I would assume that women would probably be happier. And I wouldn't just assume that blindly, I would assume that based on the data that I have seen.
What data have you seen that has brought you to this conclusion? Because I'm now curious where I can get this data from.
I couldn't reference it offhand, but I believe there was a study that I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Okay.
So we're seeing some conservative values here demonstrated. And hey, some people have conservative values, some people have liberal values. It doesn't actually equate to being an incel. So this last interaction, though, does tell us something. He's talking about a particular stance he has based on research, but he can't actually cite that research. This tells me that he's gone down some kind of internet rabbit hole regarding these values, and that he's probably adopted these values through consuming content. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with these values, but when we go down these rabbit holes and we watch this content, there's a danger of being heavily influenced and almost brainwashed. Now, is he brainwashed? I wouldn't go so far as to say that at this point, but it's evident that he spent a lot of time on Reddit or YouTube and he's consuming this type of content. And if he's doing that, then maybe he's adopting some of these stronger opinions that may not be so healthy for us. But let's keep going.
What do you think it is about liberal areas that create behavior in women that you think is a problem?
Promiscuity leads to increased standards in more primitive aspects such as looks. And that typically makes it harder for some people to find a relationship, including sometimes good-looking people. Like there's guys who are much better looking than I am who are having a really hard time finding someone in a place like LA or in London or in Auckland, New Zealand, but they probably would have a perfectly fine time finding a woman somewhere else.
So you think that promiscuity is the problem, and if people were more monogamous and more withholding, that would sort of fix society?
Yeah, I suppose if people were more traditionalist.
There have been a few mass shootings in the past where these shooters actually stated that they were incels or were radicalized by online incels. What do you think about their actions?
I condemn their actions. I don't believe violence is the solution. I don't believe attacking random people is going to fix anything, whether they're, women or men. I do think that the reason why they committed those actions was probably because of out of desperation or out of, mental problems that probably could have been prevented had the right support was in their community, in their household. If people saw what they were posting and saw what they were experiencing in life and did something to help them.
I thought this was a great answer. She had a very fair question, and his answer gave his tremendous insight into what's going on with these people. These people are violent. Why are they so violent? Well, he's someone that understands these people. They're hurting, and they're lonely, and they have mental health issues. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it does explain it. So once again, he could have gotten defensive, but he doesn't. So I'm really starting to like this guy. But let's see if that continues.
Was there like a pivotal moment in your life, like a straw that broke the metaphorical camel's back?
It's constant years of rejection, no matter who the person was, constant years of rejection in other aspects of my life. It did kind of push me towards more, I suppose, radical beliefs, but I suppose they're only like radical, but they're more just old beliefs, really.
No, it sounds like I had another metaphor like death by 1,000 cuts. It's not like one pivotal moment, but it sounds like a bunch of things built up over time.
Yeah.
One of the common criticisms about the incel community is that you feel entitled to sex or intimacy. Do you believe that you deserve sex or intimacy from a woman?
I think everybody at some level deserves someone that loves them and, respects them, as long as you are also loving and respectful towards that person. They're an equal. You're not seeking someone beyond yourself. You don't have too high standards, I suppose.
Yeah, I completely agree here. It seems like somewhat of a setup, the guy asking him, do you feel like you deserve sex and intimacy? But he doesn't take the bait. He just describes what he feels like he wants. And I feel like what he wants is what most people want. And again, I like what he's saying here, and I don't disagree with this. And his answer to the previous question was, for me, pretty sad. He didn't give us much, but he talks about constant rejection, and I can't help but think that that has one of the biggest contributors to why he's an incel. But I'm watching this video and I'm thinking there's a lot of amazing things about this young man.
If you can tell the world about something about being incel that, that may not be in the internet or that's overlooked heavily, what would it be?
I don't know. I think it's mostly that most of the men are not inherently bad people. A lot of them are just lonely. They just need some help, really.
Okay. Would you say that there's anything that other people can do to help guide or just support or anything?
The lonely person in your class or the lonely person in your workplace, maybe he's an incel and he's not letting you know and he's just kind of afraid he wants someone positive. Just be nice, say hi, try and make friends with him. You don't have to date him, you don't have to whatever, just, brighten up someone lonely's day, I suppose.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
Wow, I could not agree more. We all need to do this. We are all probably the loneliest generation ever. And a lot of us are suffering right now. And the thing is, we don't know the extent to the people's suffering. It's so easy to assume that we're all doing okay, but a lot of us aren't. And frankly, a lot of us are dealing with things like what he's talking about. The loneliness, desperation, the lack of hope. There's a whole group of people that have given up trying to find a girlfriend. Imagine what that must feel like. And he's saying that all of us are part of the answer, which is, in a way, very beautiful.
You don't want to be an incel?
No.
Why not?
Well, I mean, it's part of the whole involuntarily thing. I mean, you want to try and escape it. You want to be something better. You want to get a wife, get a girlfriend, get someone who loves you, spend your life with them, and be happy. And
What's one thing you wish people understood better about you?
I don't know. I guess I wish people would recognize how much effort I'm trying, I suppose. Like, I'm working out typically daily. I've lost over 100 pounds. I'm out there job hunting actively. I don't think people recognize how much effort the incels in general try to put into bettering themselves. I would say, people don't recognize their effort. They just assume that they're all like lazy and sad and angry at women and just giving up and things of that nature, I suppose.
Okay.
You don't have to see the bad things in the world and then come out a bad person. You can just see the bad things in the world and then improve upon yourself because of them, I suppose.
So you do have hope.
Yeah, I have hope, yeah. I'm a very hopeful person, I suppose.
So it ends on a real positive note. And you know what? I'm on Team Derek. I believe in this guy. He's lost 100 pounds. He's still kind of fat, but I believe he can get to a place where he's good looking and feeling good about himself. And I believe his prospects of getting married is high. And just looking at him, he's just a sweet guy who wants to love and be loved. And how can you not want that for someone like this? But enough of the mushy stuff. We know what you're here for, and your guy, Daniel, is going to explain what is going on and use Derek as a window into that explanation. There are three main reasons why I feel like incels exist. The first one is young men in our society are treated poorly. I know this because at one point in my life, I was a young man. And I remember the exact moment when I found out that I was treated poorly. It was after I had my first son. I was going to the supermarket and I had him strapped to my chest in a baby carrier. And I was going about my day picking out my groceries and vegetables, and this woman looked at me. She looked me straight in the eyes and she smiled at me. And it freaked me out. What was she looking at? Why was she smiling at me? And she came up to me and said, "Hi, how are you doing?" It never happened to me before. And that's when I realized it's because she saw my baby and she saw that I was a dad. She didn't see me as a young man. And that's when it dawned on me. No one ever looks at young men like that. Children are cute. Women are desired. Old people have respect. Successful people have power. But the young man really doesn't have any of those things. And we don't need those things to be well-adjusted humans. But if you're severely lacking in other areas, that can be the nail in the coffin. Like Derek said, I think we need to be kinder and nicer to people because there's a lot of lonely people out there, and a lot of them are young men. The second reason that I feel like incels exist is tribalism. It's going too far down that rabbit hole of ideas and becoming part of a community that is wrapped up in a certain identity. Like I said, when we were younger, we didn't have incels. It wasn't an identity or a label that people ascribe to themselves. And if you don't have an identity or label, you can work to change yourself. But if someone has that as their identity and that's how they see themselves, well, that's how they'll be. Your identity and who you are creates the narrative of your life. And incels have a very negative identity and narrative, and they have to change it. And that's extremely difficult if you have a whole community and tribe and that you've joined with and you guys connect over these specific ideas. And the final reason is undiagnosed and untreated mental health disorders. I haven't had any clients that called themselves incels, but I've had plenty of clients who basically are the same thing and struggle with the same thing. They are amazing people, but they don't believe in themselves and they don't value themselves and they don't feel like they have any type of agency when it comes to their situations. And my job is to challenge everything that they know and to explore the world of possibilities out there. I like Derek's story because at the end of the video, it was open-ended and it was a positive note. He was hopeful and I have a lot of hope for him. But there's a lot of people out there who have very little hope or no hope at all. And it's a battle just to get them to believe that there's someone out there who's going to care for them. But there's a lot of people in this world, and I'm very, very confident that there's someone out there for every single person and that all of us can find someone to love them. But first, you're going to have to love yourself. So when it comes to that, it's a lot of working on yourself, even before you can even think about finding someone to love you. But you can do it. Do you know why? It's because I've seen people do it. I'm confident that Derek is going to do it. So just shut up and go do it, you amazing person. See you next time.